Attitudable opens the door to a new world of people transforming lives and the way we do business. Today, I am very honored to have with us Raquel Borras. Hello, Raquel. Welcome to our podcast.
Hi, Dolores.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for
And
having me.
and for the people who perhaps don't know you, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, about what you are doing right now?
Sure. So I'm here in the United States. I'm in Northern Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C., the capital. I started my own business in January before the pandemic, doing personal branding. But in the meantime, I've got two teenagers, and so that keeps me busy at times. And yeah, I'm just trying to, like everybody else, do the best I can in such a crazy time. I think everyone's
Crazy.
trying to figure out how to survive, if
Yeah,
you will. So
so
yeah,
difficult. You are
yeah.
right. And for you, like I have to tell you that I love the name of your company, True
Thank
to
you.
You branding. And first, being a translator, anyhow, I sometimes read and very fast, and I wrote True to Your branding, and it's
Oh,
true to you.
yes.
Would you explain us a little bit about that?
Yes, when I started my business, I was thinking, what kind of name do I want to have? And it needs to really show what I'm all about. And even before I came up with the name, I always talked about, on my social media, just being true to yourself and being who you are and being authentic and real. And so I thought, I wonder if True to You is taken. So I Googled it. I think I might have been in bed at midnight because it's hard for me to sleep. So it was late at night. I'm thinking, of names. So I Googled it and nobody else had that name. So I thought, well, it's perfect. And it really conveys everything that I try to do with my branding. And it's to have people be true to themselves. So it's me helping them be true to who they are, as opposed to me telling them what their brand should look like or how they should put themselves out there. They're the ones that should decide. And then I just help facilitate that.
And it's hard because sometimes you think, of course, we are all like, I am me, you are you. I mean, but it's not that way. It's difficult to be authentic and be you nowadays, mainly in the corporate or the professional world.
Yeah, and that's hard. So I joke around where I'm kind of like a therapist
Mm,
because most people don't put themselves out there because they are afraid to be their true selves. They don't want to be vulnerable. They're worried that they're going to be judged, or what are people going to think, or what if somebody doesn't like them. And so they get into their head. So I'm almost like a therapist cheerleader, someone that helps someone with their confidence to let them know, hey, the fact that you are different and the fact that you have all these special, stories and experiences, that's what makes you who you are, and you should celebrate that. And that's something that you should put out there. And believe me, people are going to connect with that. Not everybody, but there's almost 8 billion people in this world. So if you think about it,
yeah.
you're going to have an audience, whether or not you think you are, you really are, whether it's 2 people or 2,000 people. I am the mindset, if you can change or inspire or encourage one person, then I think what you're doing is that it's worth it. I don't look at the numbers. It's more of who am I actually affecting in a positive way. And I
Yes.
think most people, if they really thought about that, I think they wouldn't be so concerned. If they really imagined that there was somebody on the other side that was listening to what you had to say, and it really inspired them and it really helped them, then I think more people would actually put themselves out there knowing that they're helping others. But with
Mm,
social media, it's hard. There's a disconnect. Even for someone like me who has a very large following, it still doesn't, I can't compute it sometimes, where when I put a post out there, how many people I'm actually reaching. It's hard
mm.
for me to kind of wrap my head around it, that I think my second degree network is at 1.4 million. So I have the potential to reach at
Wow.
1.4 million people when I post something. but it's so hard
Yes,
to
imagine not even in
imagine
a
that. So I just
stadium, a
try to think
very,
about one person. I'm like, okay, just pretend like you're talking to one person. Don't worry about
yes.
all the potential people that could be listening to what you have to say, because that could be a little bit scary and overwhelming.
Yes, and even more for the professions or the people who are not used to working or dealing with people, public relations, and talking,
Yeah.
let's say, talking with the social media to people, because you think, well, this is not interesting. I mean, what would anyone be or think that what I'm writing or posting would be interested? So, sometimes no, but okay, I won't
But
write
yeah,
it
you
because
can
it's
try.
not, it's hard.
Yeah. It's very hard when you don't see the actual results or what's happening on the other end. And I think
Mm,
that's another reason why a lot of people get discouraged, because it does
yes,
take time and patience and consistency. There's a lot that goes into it when you deal with social media and putting yourself out there for your business or just for yourself.
exactly. And you
Um,
help like people to be more self-assured or self-confident in order
yeah.
to move forward towards that goal. Is it a
Yes. And
process? Mhm.
yeah, and it's amazing, for instance, when I have a lot of people that don't do video, and then I convince them to do a video, and they'll do it and it scares them. But after they do it, they realize it wasn't that bad. And then once again, once they start getting good feedback, or maybe they actually, got a lead out of it, or maybe even a client, then they realize, like, okay, now I get it. And so then they get excited and then they do more. And I have some folks that now just love doing video because
Wow.
they realized how effective it really is. Because with video, if we were doing this podcast and we weren't recording it visually and it was just each our voices, it'd be different than seeing my mannerisms or seeing me smile, or just, you can tell a lot about a person when they're speaking and how they're
Yes.
speaking. So that's really important, because there's plenty of people that are really weird on camera because they think they have to be a certain way. So it's me trying to explain, like, just be you, do it over and over again. You don't have to post it. Because I've gotten much better too, because I realize how I come across the camera as well. So I know that there's certain things that I have to be careful about when I speak. And
Yeah.
you start learning about yourself. I think it's fun, to be
Yes, I
honest.
think it's very important, as you say, because in the process you are I mean, you're having fun, you are enjoying
Yeah,
the process.
absolutely. Yeah.
Sometimes if you don't enjoy it, it's like, okay, I won't continue, or I mean, I won't keep on doing that if it's not good or it doesn't feel.
Right. And I'm not, and I try to be serious when I speak, but at the same time, I am funny. I like to be funny. So I have to be able to have my personality,
Mm,
also kind of speak for itself. So I have to just be true to who I am. And that's why I keep saying that. And, I can't
yes.
pretend that I'm somebody that I'm not. So there's plenty of times that I'll post my bloopers. I don't know if you guys know what bloopers are.
Yeah.
Anytime I mess up on my video, I'll go ahead and make like a video of all my mess ups to prove to people that we're
You are
not
human.
perfect, that I'm human, and people really appreciate that. And it makes people laugh. And that's, at the end of the day, my part of my brand is making other people smile and laugh. And if I can do that, and if it, then that's great. And if it's making fun of myself, then so be it. Like, I don't take myself
Yes.
seriously. I'll make fun of myself if it makes someone else smile.
Yes, it shows. It's a pleasure like talking to you and imagine working with you. So,
Thank
and yes, and what is for you? I mean, if you have to define branding,
you.
because for me, not being a designer, not being an artist, as
Right.
also you are, it's like a logo or the colors. But what
Yeah.
is
So
really
there's
branding? Mhm.
So there's different parts of it, because I do have people that reach out to me and ask me, hey, can you help me with my logo or design it? And I'm like, no, that's not what I do, because there's a difference between a brand and then the personal brand, like the storytelling, the emotion. There's two pieces to it. Just like with marketing, there's digital marketing, there's the back end, there's so many
Mhm.
different things. So you do have your brand, you have to have your logo and your colors and all of that. I don't necessarily do that. I can help because I am a very creative, artistic person, but I'm about having your personality out there, and that's your brand, because a lot of people say that your brand is your reputation.
Mm.
So that's why it's really important that when you do put yourself out there,
Mhm.
it's you. Right? Because
Yes.
that's how people are going to connect with you. That's how they're going to get to know you, like you, and then trust you. And then they'll want to do business with you, or they'll want to, have any, maybe a relationship or friendship with you as well. So it's really important that 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 there's a difference between, just the visual part of it and
Yes,
the emotional part of it.
of course. Absolute,
Yeah.
absolutely. And how do you deal with that? Because as we were talking before, you feel very vulnerable when you write about yourself, your own day, and you are open to critics or to different type topic points of view that may
Yeah.
feel bad, but for you may not be very good. And how do you deal with that, the vulnerability part, let's say?
Yeah, that is difficult because people can be mean, but I have to remind myself that it's always people that don't know me that are saying something. Even the other day was interesting because I rarely get any negativity on my social media. I've been very lucky where I've created a network that I trust, and then we trust each other, and there's a respect. So the people in my network are people that I know are going to support me. So when I put a post out there, I rarely get anything negative. But every now and then someone will come across my post that doesn't know me. And for instance, the other day I did a post where I did a time-lapse video of me doing a painting and then showing my painting. And this person was like commenting on people's comments, and she basically was saying, what is this? I need to find something newsworthy because this is just like nonsense, or that was
Wow.
like, she just wasn't a nice person. And I just had to once again remind myself, this person has no clue who I am. They're not even in my network. They're just being mean just to be mean, and that's their problem. Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe they've got a lot going on in their personal life. And so I just have to brush it off, because unfortunately right now, especially, I think people really they're struggling in a way where maybe that's how they deal with it, is by
Mm.
being mean and getting on social media and saying things. And maybe that makes them feel better in the moment. I don't know. I just have to trust that, they're going through something that I don't know
It's
about.
not
And
you.
it's
Mhm.
not me. It took a while for me to get to that point. I'm not going to lie. When I
Mm.
first got out on social media, I took everything very personally, to the point where I almost stopped,
Mm.
because, I had one guy that was really mean, reshared my post, said some awful things. And I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this anymore. But before that, and this is what's really crazy, is that before that guy did that, I was getting so many positive comments and a lot of great feedback. And it's amazing how it just takes one person to be negative and mean, and it can really wipe out all the positive stuff. And I have to remind myself
Yeah.
that the positive outweighs the negative. And, and that's what's important. And once again, I'm helping others more than I'm not. So
Exactly.
it is very psychological, but we're human. That's why I tell people all the time, like, be very self-aware of what you're putting out there, because someone on the other side of the computer or your phone is a human, is someone that has feelings. So, do your best to do it in a way where you're not making anybody else feel badly or inadequate. And that's something that I'm really trying hard, and I've been guilty of it in the past, of with Instagram. You post the fancy this, or you're on vacation, or you post your fancy meal at a fancy restaurant. And I realize all I'm doing is making other people feel badly about their situation, if they have a bad situation. If they're at home and
Mm.
they're eating, a box of cereal, and here I'm posting I'm having a steak dinner. Like, why am I doing that? What's the point of it? And
Mm.
so it's made me think a lot. And so I've really tried to change the way I do my social media now as well, because
Mm.
I think we forget that we're all human. We all
Yes,
have feelings,
you're
and
right.
so I think we just need to be more self-aware of that.
In order not to, and do you recommend when you have those nasty comments that will always exist because, as you said, it's the world we live in. Do you
Yeah.
recommend to delete them, apart from not paying attention, of course? But
Yeah, I've deleted some before. I never respond. I know
mhm.
there's a lot of people that will kind of feed into it and they'll respond, and
Mm.
then there's a whole little like attack going back and forth. I don't want to feed into that energy, and I don't want that person to think that I'm going to waste my energy on them either. So I just ignore it. Sometimes actually I'll respond in a funny way. If I'm going to respond,
Ah,
I just kind of like, oh, okay, thanks. I try to let them know that it really didn't bother me, that what it
yes.
didn't work. And that's usually what happens. They want a reaction, right? Like that's
Ah,
what they're trying. And so when they don't get a reaction, the person on the other end is kind of like, okay, whatever, moving on. Then they're like, oh, well, then that didn't really work.
okay.
And it's amazing how sometimes I've actually had people who were kind of negative and nasty at first, and because I responded funny and showed them I didn't really care, then they like took a liking to me.
Ah,
Yeah, it's kind of funny how that's worked too.
you turned them into followers,
Yeah,
good
turn them
followers.
yeah. So there's a way to do it as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
perfect. I love it. And do you have like a special routine or something to be always so energetic and so full of confidence? And
No, and that's something that I'm really open about. I'm really open about my struggles with depression and how I actually attempted suicide when I was back in college, and how I, have skills now to cope with that, because believe me, I'm not always happy go
no.
lucky all the time. I have my moments, but I know what's going to make me feel better, so then I make sure that I do those things. So I love music, I love to dance. So if I am starting to feel a little bit down and my energy's kind of low, I'll purposely blare some of my favorite music in my condo, and I'll just dance around.
Ah,
And it's
music is so
amazing how that'll
powerful.
change. Yeah, it's amazing how it suddenly, like, there's a change and a shift in my energy and just the way I feel. So I'll do something like that, or I'll paint, since I like to paint. I have been a yoga instructor and I've done yoga for a while, so maybe yoga, meditate.
Yes.
I mean,
Do you
there's
meditate?
I try to. I'm not as good as it, as I want to be. When I do yoga, it's a
Difficult.
form of meditation, but for me to be able to actually sit and meditate,
Mm.
I try. And there are times where I can sit still for a good amount of time. But even when you're meditating, just making sure that you're always thinking positive thoughts, not thinking about the same thing. That's where it's difficult. But yeah, I am very honest with people that there are times where I just don't want to get out of bed, and sometimes I don't.
Yes. You
Sometimes I'll just
respect
work.
your
Yeah,
times.
sometimes I'll just work from my bed, and I try to practice grace. I don't get kind of angry with myself. I used to be like, oh, Raquel, look at you, like you just totally wasted this day, and what's wrong with you? And now I'm like, it's okay. There might be a day that I need that. And just tomorrow will be a new day. Tomorrow I can wake up earlier, be super productive. But today, for whatever reason, my mind and my body needs me to just chill out. Um, and so that's why I try to tell people too, like, don't be so hard on yourself. Like,
Yes.
we're all going to have our moments.
But we are very hard on ourselves.
I know. And that's what, kind of lends into a lot of the depression and a lot of the reasons why people are taking their lives. And it's because we are
Mm.
so hard on ourselves, and then we compare ourselves to other people, and especially with social media now, you can see what everybody else is doing, and so it's really easy to buy into
Yeah.
that. And I tell people all the time, we're very smart about what we post on our social media. Most people
Yes.
are only going to post the pretty stuff, their successes, all of that. And they do it on purpose because they want you to believe that everything's great. And usually those are the people that are really struggling the most, because they feel like they have to put this persona out there and this facade. And so I tell
Mm.
people, hey, just like you do it, somebody else is doing it too. So don't think that that's reality and that's how everyone's living their lives. And so that's why I tell
Exactly.
people all the time, like, if you could just be honest about it, I think we'd be much better for it. The
Or
entire
don't post the day that you are not feeling like yourself, or like you need time, or post like something that you are feeling. What do you recommend? how to cope with
I
that?
posted before when I'm not feeling the best, but I think I have a way of doing it where it's not like I'm doing it so you feel sorry for me. I'm doing it so that it's, once again, I'm showing you that I
Mm,
am a human being and I have my moments, but I'm going to sit in that moment and let it pass. So I'm almost like trying to teach a lesson, and that's why I do it.
mm,
It's not so much of like, oh, I need
exactly.
the attention, or I want people to, feel sorry for me. No, I really try to have everything with intention so that there's something that someone can take away from it. And usually I try to share that, but then show that there's hope.
Mm,
Yes,
yes.
because there's people that can be very negative and very much doom and gloom, and all they post is like, "Woe is me," and "My life is horrible," and this and that. And everyone has a story, and there's people, someone has it worse than you do, and I get all of that. But if that's what you're
Mm,
constantly putting out there, then that's also the energy that you're putting out. That's energy that you're going to get back. So I feel like that's also the type of people that you're going to attract. And I don't want to attract doom and gloom
no.
people that are negative. So I
No,
do have to be very careful about how I put that out there. But
exactly. And
but I do it.
perfect. Good,
Yeah.
good advice.
Yeah.
And also the words we use, because sometimes we are very not conscious, perhaps, about the words we are using for ourselves, like, oh, what an idiot I am, every
Yes.
time. And the words we use for others when we talk to others, when we communicate, and the words are very powerful. I mean, they have their own meaning.
Yes. And and it's hard for me at times because I'm not the best communicator. Um,
Yes, you are.
for me, well, I appreciate that, but I feel like I don't speak very eloquently. Like I say like a lot.
No.
So, myself, I'm just kind of like, oh my gosh, what am I saying? But, I just have to trust that
Yes,
people are, they see that I'm coming at it in a very genuine way.
of
But
course.
you're right, it is difficult sometimes because even the other day, I was in a networking group and I said something to the effect of like, oh, I'm the crazy one. And this
Mhm.
person reached out to me after and messaged me and said, hey, Raquel, I just want you to know that I suffer from bipolar disorder, and crazy, I didn't realize is a trigger word until you said it. So the fact that I said crazy, it really triggered them. And see, here I was just making fun of myself, being like, oh, I'm
Yes, of
crazy. And
course.
it was tough for her to hear that come out of my mouth. And so
Wow.
it's moments like that. But I always appreciate when that person reaches out to me. So that's why I told her, I said, thank you so much for letting me know. I said, because I will make sure that I, kind of watch how I use that particular word. I said, I'm in a place where I'm not triggered anymore by anything. So for me, I'm in a different space, but she's not. And I have to respect that. But yeah, it's nice
Mm.
when people will at least let you know, because yeah, you don't
Yes,
unless someone says
and we
something.
will
And she
never
said it in a
know.
very nice way where I didn't
Yes,
feel awful, because she could have made me feel awful too about it. But no, she was just like, listen, this is something that I didn't realize,
authentic.
yeah, until
Mhm.
you said that word.
It was very good to whenever we can communicate, as you say,
Mhm.
that's the best because you
Yeah.
are like exchanging ideas, feelings, and words as well.
Yeah, and then you're learning a lot about yourself, and you're growing and you're maturing. And I, like, once again, I've had people reach out to me on the side and say, hey, by the way, in your video, this and this and that. And instead of getting upset, once again, I thank them for reaching out, because I also appreciate that they reached out to me privately, because unfortunately, once again, people will do that publicly, will chastise
Mm,
you publicly or say like, you did this and how dare you. And that part I don't understand, like
mm.
why you have to be public about it. Yeah, just send them a direct message and let them know separately. So that's what I advise too with social media, that if you feel really strongly about something, there's no reason to make
Exactly.
it public if it's going to hurt somebody, or if it's
Mm.
just not nice. Once again, just direct message that
Yes,
person.
it's bad for you, perhaps the person who is saying that, and also the receiver, because you will also feel very bad if they say
Yeah,
something.
and people forget too that people can read your comments. So if there's somebody else outside of the network and they happen to see what you commented and it wasn't nice, they're automatically going to have an opinion of you as someone that's not a nice person.
Mm-hmm.
And that could really affect your business and affect, if you're trying to get clients or you're trying to put yourself out there, that could be a huge deal. So that's why, once again, I just tell people, like, if you can just be as kind and compassionate as you possibly can, then, then keep going
Yes.
on social media, do whatever you need to do. like,
Yes. Be more be more confident about you yourself. I like
yeah.
it.
And that's a tough one, to be confident. It took me a while.
Awesome.
I'm 45. It took me a long, I'm 45,
You're
divorced,
very young.
all of those things I had to go through in order for me to get to where I'm at. So that's why I tell people too, that it's a journey. I didn't just wake up like, hey, yay me.
It's so hard because sometimes when we get like when we grow older, I'm older than you. I'm 48.
I was
I
gonna
mean,
say, you don't look
it's
that much older, so I wouldn't.
no, it's like difficult because it's hard to own yourself. I mean, your life and to be accountable and vulnerable at the same time. So
Yeah.
some people never
I would
reach
say some
that
people
stage.
never, yeah, they'll never get there. Some people, and that's okay for whatever reason. That's their journey and that's their life, and that's how it was meant to play out. But for someone like me, I love the fact that I am on a journey and it's mine, and that I've come to realize that all my struggles now are my strengths. So my story lies in with pretty much all the essential failures I've had. Like, that's where now my story comes into play, and that's where my strengths are. And so for the longest time, I tried to hide all of that because I thought that it was embarrassing. There was shame, stigma behind all of it. And now I'm like, no, 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 no. This is my purpose, is to talk
Exactly.
about it so I can help others. And that's why I like to remind people as well that by putting yourself out there, you're letting people know who you are, what your likes are, what your passions are. Because if you're someone that wants to eventually, maybe be a keynote speaker, or they want to start a nonprofit, or they want to help in some way, the only way to have people know that is by letting people know.
Exactly.
um, I think that's where people forget that if you're not actually visible, then you're not giving people the gift of you, right? Because
Exactly. The only you that
yeah, like
exists.
everyone has a gift. And if you're
Mm.
not letting people know what that gift is, then you're essentially doing a disservice to a lot of people too. I just had a call with a potential client before this, and she, oh my gosh, her story, like what she does, and she's a inner city doctor, and she wants to start a nonprofit, and oh my gosh, it was amazing. And I thought, I told her, I'm like, you're the type of person that needs to be out there, because what you're doing is so incredible. You're going to inspire others. And so it's helping her build that confidence to understand that by her doing that, she's not necessarily being self-serving or self-promoting, because she doesn't want to be that person. She's like, I don't like people when they're putting themselves out there in a way that they're just trying to like be famous or be influencer. She's like, I don't want that. And I said, as long as you are coming at it from a good heart and you're sincere and genuine, they're going to trust and believe that that's what you're trying to do, that you're not just trying to,
Sell your
be,
service. Yes.
yeah, just be another face out there or anything.
Mm.
So we're going to eventually work together. And I'm really honored to be working with someone like that, because she's an incredible person and she's going to do
Wow.
amazing things. And that's why I do what I do, because I get to meet women like that, men like that,
Yes.
um, and help them, share them to the world. There's plenty to
Exactly.
go around.
Yes. And I believe so much in that, in destiny, and that things happen for a reason.
Yes.
And and the way also I found you, I feel very lucky and like blessed, because I thought, wow, it's exact, the timing is perfect, because right now I think all the world needs to be really true to them, to themselves. I
Yeah.
mean, each of
Yeah.
us, because there's not something authenticity and being you is is not regular, or you don't often see that.
No, I know. And I think one of the positives with everything going on is that, people are having to kind of expose themselves in a way that you
Mm.
can't, nobody's on like the fancy vacations. I mean, maybe some people are, but
Mhm.
for a while there in the beginning when everyone was isolated, all these Zoom calls, all the, teleworking stuff was done in people's homes. And I remember there were times where there would be CEOs on calls and their kids are running around screaming, or the wife is screaming at the dog. I think there was one meeting where the dog ran in the house with like a dead squirrel in its mouth. And so the wife was screaming and the meeting had just started. This is a CEO, but it was amazing because I bet you in that moment, everyone was like, oh, wow, look, he's just like all of us. And how funny is that? And had it been the other way around where they're in a conference room, they're at the office, he probably would have come in a suit. It probably would have been, much more serious. But the fact that it was done in that way, I feel like a lot of his employees probably in that moment felt so much of a connection with him, probably for the first time ever. So
Yeah.
I think things like that are really good because I think it really exposed a lot of people in a way where you can't really go back now, right? Like once you
Mm.
kind of show who you are and show your home and show the backs, the behind the scenes, it's like I equate it with the Oz, Wizard of Oz. Once the
Yeah.
curtain was open and the Oz was discovered, like you can't unsee that and undo that. Like now you
Yeah.
know that it was,
It's no going back. Yes.
there's no going back. Even with celebrities on their Instagram, a lot of
Mm.
musicians and celebrities, especially musicians, were just playing guitar or piano from their home with no makeup on, just being very, in the moment, vulnerable. And I feel like they just had like a much deeper connection with their fans because of
Yes.
it. And now, yeah, like how are you going to go back to a huge venue? I feel like a lot of them are going to still want that connection. So
Yes.
hopefully that'll be something that's good that comes out of all of this, is that,
Yes. There are some
yeah,
silver linings, at
yes, I
least
feel like that's what's one of them.
throughout all
Yeah,
these terrible or difficult times. There are
yeah.
good things to be grateful for.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what I try to do is every day is just practice gratitude and just
Mm.
realize that there really is so many things to be grateful for, like just even
Right.
the little thing of my daughter who's 16 and the fact that I could bring her lunch during her lunch break for school at my
Yes.
exit. Before there was no way that the kids would want their parents to bring them
Yes, me
lunch.
too.
Here she's a junior and here she calls me and she's like, hey, can we do lunch? Can you bring me lunch? I'm like, absolutely. So like little things like that where I get to hang out with my 16-year-old during the school
Yeah.
day.
Yes, that's awesome. Never happen again, at least for me.
Right?
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Raquel. I don't know why I tend to
Oh, it's
Raquel.
okay.
Thanks a lot. I really love your name. And gracias. And we'll be connected. Everyone, what's the best way to connect with you for our audience?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Those are the three main platforms
In
under my
that
name.
in that order, yes.
Well, LinkedIn,
Link-
Instagram, Facebook. Yes.
you say it that way. Perfect. Thanks a lot for your time, for all your
Thank you
words,
too.
and we will try to do our best to be true to ourselves.
Yes. True to you.
Thanks a lot, Raquel.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Just a second. I will press the stop recording. Okay.